Hey everyone, welcome. I am in a swamp today, which is not exactly the most exciting place to be. And if you don't like bugs, this is definitely your personal hell. Brutal out here. They're absolutely driving me bonkers. Anyway, this place is a swamp. Like literally it's a swamp. And here's the thing, this type of thing is really challenging for me to capture. I really struggle in landscapes like this. I feel a lot less comfortable, but that's why I wanted to bring you along today for the journey. So one of the challenges I have here is I'm coming out with this expectation of capturing something really grand. Like I want a huge, amazing image, something that just makes people wow. And that might be setting the goal a little bit too high for myself because in reality, this is not an easy place for me, particularly to come shoot. I really struggle with areas like this. And I think that's one of the things that you can think about is what kind of goals are you setting for yourself? What sort of expectation do you have in terms of when you're going to capture something? So let's see here. If you can see, I think this is a really interesting kind of foreground up here. We've got this really big fallen tree with some interesting spirals to it. The whole scene is really pretty with all this greenery, so let's see if we can capture anything interesting. I don't know if I can do it. This is miserable. But it's kind of pretty. This one I really struggle with. And that's that I'm just generally not good enough or popular enough or interesting enough or unique enough, all of the above, to be able to create something that's really impactful and interesting. And this is one that personally, I also struggle with just with this whole YouTube channel in general. I find this really goofy. It's uncomfortable to talk to a camera. It's really uncomfortable to put myself out there on a channel. But I also think it's a good, healthy challenge for me. And I'm quite excited. I just passed 1,000 subscribers, which is probably not viewed as a big milestone. But for me, this actually means a ton. So first off, thank you to everybody who has subscribed. If you haven't, please do consider. But this is a big milestone for me because I find this really challenging. It's not easy for me to put myself out there. But the reality is a lot of that is just me talking myself down, me sort of getting in my own way in terms of my ability to do something interesting. But you can be the judge. Hopefully this is, in fact, interesting to you. Before even coming out here, I was really struggling with, is it even worth it to come out here? This place is boring. I can't capture anything good. I'm not gonna have fun if I feel that the area is boring. But really, me putting that limitation on myself is just not helpful. In a sense, it's probably good for me to be out here anyway. So while I've been making this composition, this actually brings me to another point. And that's that I have this kind of misconception that for a photograph to be good, it has to be technically perfect. And that's just not really the case. If you can see here, I've got this really deep scene. And I think if you were gonna think about this from a technical perfection type of aspect, you'd say, well, everything's gotta be in focus. You have to be able to capture the entire scene in focus. The lighting's gotta be right. That's not great right now. And what I'm actually doing is I'm trying to capture just a very thin plane of focus. So I'm shooting at wide open, f1.4, and you can see the image that I'm coming up with. I don't think it's amazing, but I also think it's good. And sometimes good is okay. of the other things that I'm always struggling with is the feeling that what I'm creating is not interesting for everyone. And that's because I want it to appeal to everyone, right? I want to make something interesting that everybody looks at and says, oh wow, this is cool. But the reality is it's just not everyone's taste. You don't have to appeal to the masses, and you can get over the idea of telling yourself that by just leaning into the idea that, hey, your uniqueness is actually where the value comes. So I think we made it to the slough, whatever you call it. I think we're in the swamp now. I think this is gator country. So as you know, this video isn't titled all the dumb things Sam does to get in his own way. It's titled the number one thing that people do, that photographers do, to get in their own way. And the point is actually that it is a combination of all these things, but really it's you getting in the way of yourself. And that's by putting limits on what you believe you're able to do, and therefore preventing yourself from actually just going out and doing it. So today was sort of my metaphor for it. I didn't want to be in a swamp, especially with all these bugs, because they're absolutely driving me bonkers. But I think importantly, I put these limits on myself saying, hey, if I go out here, I'm not going to capture anything interesting. And hey, maybe I won't. But the point is that by trying to limit myself, I'm actually preventing myself from doing something interesting in the first place. So I think the number one thing that photographers do to get in their own way is put limits on themselves. Instead of telling yourself no, go out and try it. I think that's the number one thing that I've learned here. And again, thank you for joining me on this YouTube journey, because this is an example of me stepping well out of my comfort zone and doing something that I've told myself that I can't do. I hope this is helpful. I hope you've enjoyed some of the photos and video I've captured today. This has been fun for me to put together. If you do like this video and you like this message, please do like and subscribe. And seriously, if you have any barriers that you're putting in front of yourself, step over them. Go through it, go out there and do the creative thing that you're holding yourself back from doing. Just try it. What's the worst that can happen? Thanks for watching.